Good morning, welcome to NTV Tizi Nyumbani. My name is Peter. This week I want us to try something different. We're going to do a conditioning workout, okay? So conditioning will push us more on endurance and the strength as well. This is a strength workout, a good cardio workout at the same time. I'm so sure our team wanapenda CrossFit. I'm sure this will work very well for you guys. Now, we're just starting up. We're only doing how many workouts? We're gonna do 5 workouts. So we're doing them in a different way in terms of the repetitions. So welcome on board. I will explain as we go on. We're only starting up with a warm-up, 100 jumping jacks, and let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Those are 20. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Those are 30 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 40. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 50 to go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 60. 1. Let's go. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Those are 70 counts. 30 more. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 20 to go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Last 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I hope you're a bit warm. I think I'm feeling a bit warm as well. So now, first workout. We're doing 5 sets. Set number 1, 10 burpees. Peke yake. Are you ready? 10 burpees. Peleka mikono chini. Give me a slight jump. If you can't jump up, you can just take your toes up or just land up and usimamia hapo. Okay? Burpees, we remember burpees? First demonstration for a burpee. Hapo, push your legs back, come back, then you can jump. If you can't jump, up and up here. 10 burpees. Our timer starts now. Let's go. Take your time. 1. Let's go. 2. Take your time. 3. Let's go. 4. Perfect. Easy, easy. I'm going easy with the beginners. 5 to go. Those are 6. For the advanced, for the intermediate, you can push it faster. Remember, it's a timed workout. We only have 25 minutes to wrap it off. 3 more. Hivyo, good job. 2 more. Good. Last one. Perfect. That's it. 1. How are you feeling? Tumeingia set number 2. Now, set number 2, we're doing 10 burpees and 10 push-ups. Alright. We good? We good? 10 burpees, 20 push-ups. For your intermediate and advanced, you can push for 20 or more. For your beginners, between 10 to 15 push-ups, it's okay. So we start again. Now we're on set 2. 10 burpees, if you can, 20 push-ups. If not, between 10 to 15. Twende kazi. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those are 6. Those are 7. Those are 8. Those are 9. Those are 10. 20 push-ups, and your beginners between 10 to 15. Advanced and intermediate, give me between 15 to 20 push-ups. We ready, guys? We good? 20 cards, 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Those are 10. Endelea. If you cannot do the normal push-up, you can put your knees down and still do the count. 10 to go. 3, 4, 5, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Woo! That's set number 2. Tunaingia set number 3. How are you feeling? Relax. Like I'm saying, for the sake of the beginners, tunaenda pole pole. For the advanced guys, you can take your time, push it, okay? Try beat the time. Perfect. From there, set number 3, tunaingia 40 lunges. So tunaanza tena again from the start. 10 burpees, 20 push-ups, then 40 lunges. Are we good? I'm okay. It's not joke, guys. It's body weight conditioning. Hakuna spare equipment hii wiki yote, sawa? Hii wiki yote ni body weight. On my side. Are you ready? Twende burpees 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Those are 8. Those are 9. Let's go. Those are 10. Good job. 20 push-ups. Remember, for your beginners, I want 10 to 15 push-ups. Intermediate and advanced, let's try push between 10 to 20 push-ups. Are we good? For the advanced guys, for the CrossFit people, for the lovers of that cardio, push it. You don't have to rest much. I'm taking it easy because of you. Pole pole, okay? I don't want to leave you behind. Tunaingia push-ups. I'm ready. Let's go. 20 counts. 1, 2, 3. Go on your own pace. Your own pace. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 to go. 1, 2. Remember, you can put your knees down. 3, and then there. 4. Put your knees down if you can't, and you're able to push up. 5 to go. 4 to go. Last 3. 2 more. Last 1. Whew. Perfecto. When you're doing a lunge, remember, when you're doing a lunge, widen it up. Step forward, okay? Take the back knee down, then come back to the center. Then the other knee, back to the center. 40 count. If you have a knee problem, if you can't do your lunges, just go the farthest you can, then come back up. 40 count, let's go. That's 1, 2, 3. Push it. 4. You're doing it, I'm doing it with you. Those are 5. Twende kazi. For your beginners, you can give me 15 to 20 lunges. Those are 6. Advanced, intermediate, 20, 40. Those are 8. Let's go for 9. Those are 9. Those are 10. 30 more, let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Endelea. 5. Feel the legs. Relax mikono chini straight. 6. Let's go. Those are 8. Those are 9. Those are 20. 20 to go. Take your time. Remember the workout. Follow it, okay? Those are 22. Those are 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Push it. Those are 10. 10 to go. 10 more. Turn it, guys. That's 1, 2, 3. Are you feeling the legs? 4. Twende kazi. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. And 10. Woo! How are you feeling? Relax. Breathe. Breathe. Like I said, for the beginners, tunaenda pole pole. Intermediate, advanced guys, lovers of CrossFit, this is for you guys. Push it. It's against time. Push it, okay? So tuna relax kidogo. Toka hapo tunaingia sit-ups. Around so many sit-ups. 50 sit-ups. Okay? So we're starting from the first set. So tunaanza na burpees 10, okay? Push up 20. Then tuingia lunges 40. Ndio sasa tufanye sit-ups 50. That's the fourth set. Only left with one last set, then we're done. Are you good? You can grab a glass of water, kunywa maji kidogo, gargle your mouth, catch your breath. Relax. Remember, you can still access this workout on NTV page, Facebook. Give us your comment. I'm loving those who have taken up the 30-second push-up challenge. Let's keep pushing up. Good job, guys. To you at home, good job and thank you for following NTV. Are you okay now? Tunaanza tena. 10 burpees, 20 push-ups, 40 lunges, sasa ndo tuingie 50 sit-ups. Twende burpees. Are you good? I'm ready. Twende kazi. 1. Take your time. 2. 3. 4. 5. Twende. Those are 6. Those are 7. Twende kazi. 8. Let's go. 9. Last one. Those are 10. Easy. You will not. As you keep on doing these workouts, as long as you're consistent, your system starts to get used to them. Okay? See ati workout zinakuwa rahisi. It's your body that is getting stronger. Good job. Keep it up. From there, push-ups. 20. You ready? Remember, you can still put your knees down. Give me the modified push-up. If you can, we'll do the normal push-up. Are we okay? Twende kazi. 1, 2. Those are 10. 10. Nine, 10. Woo. Good job. You're doing fine. Catch your breath. See marathon? Okay. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. So relax. Up. Pole. But like I said, and insist again. For those who can, if your fitness level is high, you don't have to pause for so long. The workouts are here with you. They're written down. Keep on pushing. Are we good? Lunges. 40 counts. 20. That's 1. That's 2. 3. 4. Push it. Endelea. These are 5. Endelea. 6. 7. 8. Push it. 9. Those are 10. To the left. 11. Those are 12. 13. It's body weight, guys, no equipment. Sawa. 15. 16. 17. Breathe. 18, 19, push it, you're doing good. Those are 20, 20 more, we're halfway. For the beginners, usikie umetokea hapo ni sawa. If you can push on, push on. Okay? Those are 22, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You're on 30 now. Time to go, push it. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those are 7. Those are 8. 2 more. Those are 9. Woo! How are you feeling? You good? Are you good? I'm ready. Sit up, let's go. 1, 2. Those are 10. Let's go. Push it. Those are 20. 30 more. 1. 30, 20 more. Good job. Those are 40. 10 more. We're almost there. Don't give up. Don't give up. Eight, 9, 10. Good job. How are you feeling? Talk to me. Unafilaje? Tuendelee ama tuache? Tuendelee. Good job. We're heading to the last set. Okay? Now, our last set for the day. Tunafanya squats. 50 squats. But for us to do the 50 squats, we're starting from the first set. Breathe. Breathe. Breathe in. Out. Catch your breath. Okay. If you missed this workout, if you just joined me right now, remember, you can access this workout on Facebook, NTV page. Alright? Be sure to follow us for more. How are we feeling? Tunaanzia 10 burpees. Ingia push up, ingia lunges, ingia sit ups, tumalize na squats. Then it's a wrap. Okay. Thank you for staying tuned. I can see you. I know you're enjoying it. So am I. Good job. 10 burpees. Peke yako, usiniongeze tafadhali eh. Haya. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, last one, 10. How are you? Talk to me. How are you feeling? Breathe. What? I'm in a hammer. It's not a joke. Yeah? I'm in a hammer. Good job. So get push-ups. 10, 15, 25. Give me how many push-ups you can. Alright? Target in 20. Are we ready? Breathe. Out. Breathe in. Out. Last one. Breathe in. Out. Good job. 20 push-ups. Those are 10. Eight, 9, last one, 10. Woo! Baby pause there. Just breathe. Breathe. Just breathe. Good job. Jasho latiririka si kujimwagilia maji. Good job, good job, good job, good job. From there, Rengia lunges. 40 lunges. We're wrapping up, guys. Let's go. It's 1. It's 2. 3. 4. Breathe. 5. I want you to push your cardio. Okay. The endurance. 6. This. 7. Breathe. Good job. Breathe. Good job. Breathe. Those are 10. 10 the cardio. Endelea. These are 4. You can do your arm, upper, you can curl. Okay? These are 6. These are 7. These are 8. These are 9. Push it. Those are 10. Ooh, my legs are burning. How are you feeling yours? Endelea. Ah. It's 11. 12. 13. 14. 15. 16. 17. Woo! 18. 19. Those are 20. Those are 30. 10 more. Ooh. Shake those legs. If you're feeling the burning like I am, if you're not, endelea. 10 more. Those are 1. 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. Perfect. Woo! Remember, we're running out of time. We're supposed to do another 50 sit-ups. Okay? Because of time, we'll do 20, then we do the squats, we are done. Okay? So you're supposed to do 50, but because of time, Let's do 20. Then we do the squat. Then we down. 20 sit-ups. Breathe. Are we ready? Let's go. 1. 8, 9, 10. 10 to go. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Woo! So I want you to finish up the other 30 squats. Okay? From there, 30 sit-ups, sorry. We're supposed to do 70 or rather 50 squats. We're going to do 20, finish up the rest that we're able to stretch. 20 squats. You ready? Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 to go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Good job. Thank you so much for staying tuned to NTV. We do a stretch, we call it a day. Remember, workouts ziko hapo with the reps. Make sure you repeat another set. Time yourself. Can you do this workout in less than 25 minutes? Make that your goal. It's a good cardio, it's a good strength, it's all body weight, pushes your endurance levels very high. So give it a shot. Give it to your friend. Sambaza it to your friend. We're still stretching as I talk. Sambaza it to your friend. Tell your friends about NTV Tizi Nyumbani if they're yet not aware of it. Stay tuned. The workouts are all tailor-made for you. Yes, you. Personally, you. Ni vile tu next time utaandika jina yako hapo. Good stuff. Twende hapo. Waistline there. Oh. The other side. Shoulder shrugs there. Backwards. Twist your neck round. The other side. Good. Breathe in. Out. Breathe in. Out. Last one. Breathe in. Thank you. God bless. See you tomorrow. Iva kona nyinyi and have a good day.
Credit to you if you stay at home. If you must shop online, use your NCBA credit card. Stay home. Stay safe.
The three sides of Anna.
Is this how you were planning to save your marriage? By having your picture taken while going out from a hotel with that jerk?
I gave you my soul, and then now I find you with another woman once again.
I've come to ask you not to meddle in my life or in my niece's lives. Do you get that?
Oh no, you're mistaken. Soledad is my employee.
Same guy who gave the pictures to your husband.
What pictures are you talking
He took
about?
pictures. He got some stupid pictures. Pictures were of you and I coming out of a hotel.
What?
The three sides of Anna.
COVID-19 is preventable. Protect yourself, your family, and the community. This message has been brought to you by the government of Kenya and its partners.
Akili, 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 akili. Let's chase the germs away. Let's chase the germs away by keeping our hands clean. And when you want to sneeze or when you want to cough, do it in your elbow. Let's practice sneezing into your elbow. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Achoo!
you open up a world of possibility where your entertainment is ready for you anytime and anywhere. To get connected, ask your parents to go to the App Store, hit download and log in.
Incredible! Incredible!
And while they're there, with DSTV's parental control feature, setting you up for the most fun and safest viewing around is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Amazing entertainment and learning, anywhere with DSTV.
Mama, how can we stop coronavirus?
We can fight its spread by washing hands with soap, like a geisha bar. Stay strong and go so far.
Be strong and last long.
Like geisha.
This is NTV.
Good morning, East Africa, and thank you for joining us on your world, one that has been disrupted one way or another by the coronavirus pandemic. COVID-19 affects people in different ways, and according to the WHO, which is the World Health Organization, some of those at greater risk of developing severe disease are people with pre-existing medical conditions such as diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, or even lung disease, and that list goes on and on. Today, we try to understand how those who are living with these conditions are coping and how you can avert them. My name is Gladys Gachanja, and as always, you can join in on the conversation, that hashtag new normal on social media, and you can also call in or text using the numbers on the bottom of your screen. This is what you can expect this Tuesday morning. Today we look at lifestyle diseases that did not stop just because COVID-19 is with us.
Everyone has dreams.
Gachanja has vowed to climb Mount Everest in 2022, and his personal transformation has been amazing. The floods that have ravaged Kenya in the past month have now hit our neighboring Uganda.
The 4-year-old girl has been an internet sensation after pictures of her rocking her traditional Arterial went viral.
Well, this 4-year-old bundle of joy found a classy way to learn the Kalenjin culture. Thank you for joining us on the broadcast once again. Are you dealing with any lifestyle diseases? That could be hypertension, diabetes, obesity, cardiovascular conditions. How are you coping? This is your question of the day, even as we look at lifestyle diseases and how those that are living with them are coping in this season. Remember, hashtag new normal on social media, and you can also text or call in with your contributions. Now, for now, we look at how the effects of coronavirus are being felt around the world by looking at the numbers, and right now globally According to the latest number, those confirmed to have COVID-19 stands at 5,588,356. Those who have recovered from the same are 2,365,719. And unfortunately, 347,000 people, 873, have succumbed to COVID-19. Now, a look at Kenya. So far, according to the government, 61,971 people have been tested. 1,286 of those have been confirmed to have COVID-19. Unfortunately, 52 people have succumbed to the condition this far, and thankfully, 402 people have recovered from the same. A look at East Africa. Well, Tanzania, those numbers seem to stay the same. Confirmed cases, 509, deaths, 21, and those who have recovered from COVID-19, 183. In Ethiopia, the confirmed cases there are 582 people. Those who have succumbed to their condition, 5. Recovered from the condition stands at 152 people. In Somalia, the confirmed cases in that country, 1,594 people. Deaths stand at 61, and those recovered from COVID-19, 204. South Sudan, 655 people confirmed to have COVID-19 or having contracted COVID-19. 8 people unfortunately have succumbed to the disease, and 6 have recovered from the same. In Uganda, confirmed cases there, 326 people. Thankfully, this one, no one has succumbed to COVID-19 in Uganda, and those who have recovered stands at 68. In Rwanda, the cases there are 327 confirmed with COVID-19. None has passed away, and those who have recovered stands at 237 people. In Burundi, confirmed cases stand at 42. Deaths stands at 1, and those who have recovered from COVID-19 in Burundi stands at 20. Well, those are numbers that we're keeping an eye, and we shall continue to keep you updated on the same right here on your world. Now, a look at how the world is coping, and just here in the continent, Johannesburg, NGO Door of Hope is concerned more families will abandon their babies as the economic situation worsens during the coronavirus lockdown. Since the country shut down at the end of March, they have received 7 new babies and are at full capacity. The organization makes use of what is called a baby box outside their homes, which allows parents to safely give up their children. Door of Hope's Nadine Graham says she fears these numbers will only increase as the lockdown impacts the poorest in communities.
Lockdown. And a lot of the cases, these are older babies. Generally, you would get babies between newborn and about a month old, but there are some cases where children as old as 9 months have been taken in that has been found abandoned. The fact that babies are given up, or children are given up because of poverty and hunger, I think it might actually get worse as long as lockdown takes place.
With COVID-19, to put on the mask is a little bit difficult. It's not easy because we have to stimulate the kids. They must see our facial expression, but because of the mask, they can't see us. But at the same time, we are protecting them.
But it's important because we're looking after orphan babies, so they need a mother's love. They need someone to look after them. They need someone to take care of them because they cannot take care of themselves. So that's why it's so important. Instead of, just leave them abandoned to die out there, it's better to save a life.
To our neighbors, Tanzanian President John Magufuli says that one of his children has recovered from the coronavirus and is now able to even do push-ups. He calls on religious leaders of the nation to arrange Thanksgiving days to thank God for the great things he has done for us.
Mimi ninapozungumza hapa na mtoto wangu alipata corona. Mtoto wa kuzaa mimi. Amejifungia kwenye chumba, akaanza kujitibu, akajifukizia, akanywa malimao na tangawizi. Amepona, yuko mzima sasa, anapiga push up. Huu ndio ukweli, nisiwezi nikasema uongo mbele ya madhabahu hapa. Kwa mwelekeo huu, baadaye nitawaomba ndugu zangu viongozi wa dini wa madhehebu yote, kadiri ya mambo yanavyoenda, ikiwezekana hata kuanzia Ijumaa wiki ijayo na Jumamosi na Jumapili tukawe pia na siku za kumshukuru Mungu. Tunaambiwa shukuruni kwa kila jambo. Mungu ametutendea makubwa.
In Kenya, the COVID-19 pandemic has had people seeking ways of coping in their day-to-day lives. 4-year-old Joy Jebi Watt found the break from school best fit to learn the Kalenjin cultural traditions. NTV's Nayoma Sampao has that story.
Joy Jebi Watt is a PP1 pupil at Dream Schools in Mogotio, Baringo County. The 4-year-old girl has been an internet sensation after pictures of her rocking her traditional attire went viral. Joy left her parents' home in Eldama Ravine after schools were closed due to the coronavirus pandemic to spend time with her grandmother and learn life's invaluable lessons often not taught in class.
Because of the fear of COVID, we tend to restrict the children to the house, but it's very difficult. Trying to close them in the room, you find them, they've gone out.
At their rural home in Eminig Ward in Baringo, we find her dressed in her traditional clothes, helping her grandmother in house chores. She joined her teenage cousins in fetching firewood, cooking and preparing the gourd for storing the traditional milk, mursik.
Kuja kusaidia shosh, chuna kune, na kuenda maji, na kuchunga mbuzi.
Life in Baringo has often been marked in blood and conflict, but Joy offers us a rare glimpse into the other chapter of the Baringo story.
Sometimes we hear so many things about our county, about the cattle raiding, about floods, droughts. We wanted to show people that apart from what those things you're seeing, there's another thing about us that you're not seeing.
Douglas Lagat, a photographer who captured the images that have since gone viral, says he wanted to showcase yet another of Baringo's gems.
Hata ukipiga watu wengine picha, unapata amepose pale kando kama msichana mkubwa sana. You can think she is like 24.
Let us teach our children our culture so that they may know how the culture is, they may know how to help their parents, and also they may learn a lot of traditions.
Although her parents were at first concerned after the pictures going viral, they say they have learned an important lesson. Nayoma Sampao, NTV.
Such a heartwarming story, and yes, that's the silver lining with COVID-19. Time to go back to our roots. Now, maternal and newborn health is at risk due to the small number of mothers who go to seek essential antenatal and postnatal care. And we are focusing on Kilifi County, which is one of the counties that has continued to witness the shortage of mothers seeking maternal health services for fear of contracting the deadly corona fever at the hospital.
Mishi Kitsao from Kilifi cuddles one of her 4 bundles of joy. Her baby girls were delivered 4 days after Kenya announced the first coronavirus case. Her little bundles were underweight at birth and had to be admitted to the high dependency unit. And with every passing day, she and the doctors at the hospital feared for her children. Mishi is a statement to the disorienting changes that expectant women face in the age of the coronavirus. Expectant women around the country are having to confront an unexpected layer of stress due to the pandemic as healthcare workers rethink how best to offer prenatal care and keep the mothers and their children safe from the virus ravaging the country.
Usually as a country, we do have statisticians who work with us and are able to model for us the expected number of deliveries every day in this country annually. And so we do have projections of how many mothers we'd be expecting to see in our healthcare facilities. When we compare these numbers as at this quarter with how we were last quarter, we are seeing that there's a drop in health-seeking behavior.
Health administrators in Kilifi County are concerned that fewer expectant women are seeking prenatal care in hospitals and clinics, and even fewer infants are being brought in for essential vaccines and care.
Wakina mama wajawazito wanaokuja kliniki antenatal, wakina mama wanaojifungua hospitali, wakina mama wanaokuja baada ya kujifungua tunaita postnatal, wakina mama wa family planning, wote hao idadi yao imepungua chini. Zote katika public hospitals na private hospitals.
The county is now worried about a surge in birth-related complications as mothers shun hospital visits.
Piga simu mama, kama unaogopa kafyu huko nyumbani, piga simu. Kama ni hapa hospitali, ambulance ikuje hospitali, ikubebe ikupeleke paka hospitali, uzae hospitali. Ni hatari kuzaa nyumbani kwa sababu una complications nyingi.
If a mother fails to take a child for vaccination, for example against polio, we are on track to be able to eradicate polio. So if one or two mothers fail to be able to take their kids for polio, then it means we cannot be able to reach our target. And that not only puts Kenya at a risk, but the entire African continent and the entire globe.
The fear of stigma surrounding COVID-19 now threatens to cripple the gains made in various core pillars of health, including reducing maternal and infant mortality in the country. Eunice Omolo, NTV.
Definitely a great concern, and we shall be having that conversation soon and very soon, even as we look at other issues that have been forgotten or are ongoing even as we combat COVID-19. Well, our core conversation of the day, lifestyle diseases and how that is looking in the season of COVID-19. And to help me have this conversation with me in studio, Dr. Elijah Njao, who is a cardiologist from Nairobi Hospital. We have Dr. Alex Mogere, who is a physician with AAR in our studio here. And we also are joined by Lucy John Bosco, all the way from Tanzania, who is living with type 1 diabetes and who is also an advocate of the same. Thank you for joining us. Now, I'll start with you, Dr. In as far as lifestyle diseases are concerned, just define for us what are cardiovascular diseases, maybe comorbidities is what we keep hearing in these sentences and of course presses. What are they?
Good morning, East Africa. So for Gladys, you're asking me what lifestyle diseases are. And lifestyle diseases are diseases that come or accrue just because of the way we live. And most of those diseases are the things that we actually come because of the things that we do. Meaning they actually cover a whole spectrum, but the cardiovascular diseases are usually one of them. And those cardiovascular diseases, they are things like hypertension. They are what we call coronary artery diseases. That's the time that we talk about people having a heart attack. There are other diseases that we call like atrial fibrillation. That means the heart tends to get other arrhythmia. The heart has the normal way it beats, but you actually find that because of the things that happen or the things that we do, you find that the heart beats abnormally. And that usually comes because of a result of other things that we do, like people who smoke, people who take alcohol, and that is what we actually find. Of course, the other lifestyle diseases, even we have the one that affect the lungs, like the one that come because of people who smoke, like what we call COPD. There are many people who have COPD. You also have people who have asthma. Some of them they're actually related to the lifestyle, to how people live, what they do, what their occupations. All those we actually call them lifestyle diseases. And of course, not forgetting cancer. Then the other major disease is actually obesity.
Yes.
Okay, obesity is also a lifestyle disease. It's a lifestyle based on how you eat, what you eat, and generally how you live also. What kind of a life do you lead? There are people like now in the way that we live in these cities, or the way we live in the urban areas, we actually find that we live a sedentary life. A sedentary life means that we are not active, we don't walk, we spend more time on the screens even from like what you have here.
Yeah, my computer.
Your computer, your TV, phones, all those simple things that actually bring those kind of diseases. So it's a whole spectrum of diseases, but affecting all the parts of the body.
Okay, now before you tell us how the patients with these diseases are susceptible to getting COVID-19, if you're just joining us, the conversation, COVID-19 and lifestyle diseases, and as Dr. has mentioned, these are associated with the way a person or a group of people lives. Now, lifestyle diseases include heart disease. They actually can lead to a stroke, obesity, type 2 diabetes, hypertension or high blood pressure, just to mention a few, and diseases associated with smoking and alcohol and also drug abuse. However, regular physical activity helps prevent obesity, heart disease, hypertension, diabetes, even some cancers, and premature mortality. So, Dr. tell us what about these patients makes them susceptible to COVID-19?
Okay, there are several factors that actually lead to that. And the major factor is actually the age. You actually find that most of the lifestyle diseases, they actually happen as we age. I think it's actually a matter of how much of that dose do you accrue as you live longer. If you started smoking, by the time you are 60, you started at 20, you actually have more effect of that when you're in your 60s rather than when you're in your 40s. So actually the age is actually one of the major factors. And you actually find that as we age also, the other thing that happens is that our immunity tends to go down. Okay, for everybody. So that you even find that as people age, you actually find that a disease, infection that will probably not have affected you when you're in your 20s and your 30s, and then you are around your 60 or your 70, you find they are easily able to actually come and attack you. Of course, the way to do is that it will take longer for you to get well from a disease, and number two, you actually probably require more admissions because the body needs to be helped to actually overcome that. Your immunity is actually so susceptible that you need help. And that's why now as doctors come in, that we are there to actually give you the medicine that will actually help your body to fight off the infection.
So are we saying only those who are plus 55 are susceptible? If anyone has all those lifestyle, it does not keep their lifestyle well and makes them susceptible to conditions. Are you saying if you're younger, you're not susceptible?
Of course, what usually happens is that as you get older also, the people who are older and they have the lifestyle diseases, they are more susceptible than the same age group or the same age mates who do not have the chronic illnesses. So you actually took like a 60-year-old person who is diabetic and one who is not diabetic. But the way they handle infections will actually be different. You take one at the same age, one with cancer and another without cancer, one with heart attack, with heart failure, and another without heart failure. They're actually going to handle those things just because of the mechanism of the body happens. And you find that the people who have those morbidities, that means those lifestyle diseases, their way of fighting diseases, including the viral infections, of which COVID is one of them, bacterial infection, is actually different. They are much less able to handle that compared to people who do not have. So you're correct to say that patients who have those lifestyle diseases, they're actually more susceptible. And that has actually been shown all over the world. And you actually find that for those people who get COVID and they have those other chronic diseases, they are actually likely to get more severe infection. Like you actually know that most of the, around 80% of the people who actually get will probably be asymptomatic. But we have another 20% who actually get mild infection when they have COVID. And another 5%, 2 to 5%, based on what part of the world you're looking at, who actually get severe infections. Those are patients who get very severe infections. They will actually need ICU admission, and probably those are the group that are actually dying. And we actually find that those patients now who have those kind of conditions, who have chronic illnesses, they're actually the one who actually fall into that category.
Okay, now let's bring in Dr. Alex Mogere, who is a physician, and we have more men than women contracting and actually succumbing to COVID-19. Is this in any way an indication also on how the distribution or prevalence of lifestyle diseases is in the genders, male and female?
Thank you, Gladys, for hosting me. I think it is important to mention that between males and females, we have different health-seeking behaviors. You find that for most lifestyle diseases, for example, you get men affected more than females, and largely because of exposure and also behavior. Right now, as we have seen the different statistics coming from different parts of the world, men are affected more than the females through this COVID-19 pandemic. And largely it is because of the health-seeking behavior, which is a bit strange and interesting in the sense that when you look at how interested people are in looking at their own health matters, you find that male fall behind the females. So we are more likely to have males suffering from diseases more than females for various reasons.
Okay, but we had a research done the other day that actually indicated there are more women who are obese than men. Explain that.
Well, yeah, that's an interesting observation, and there are several factors that may contribute to obesity. One is physical activity. So there is also a likelihood that women may be more inactive in the sense that most of their activity, whether at home or at work or whichever other place, generally speaking, they may be less active compared to men. But also hormonally, they may also have a little bit of a predisposition. And this is because when you look at their basal metabolic rate, it's known that women have lower basal metabolic rate than male, generally speaking. So some of these things may actually affect some of these lifestyle diseases such as obesity. And you may find variations such as that just because of the different behavioral patterns in the different groups of people.
Now, Dr. Alex, you talked about health-seeking behavior, and that has changed especially during COVID-19. Is this the case at AAR?
Well, it's interesting. Around this time, it's sad to note that, of course, the health-seeking behavior has changed, and it is not necessarily positively. We have people putting more attention to contracting the COVID-19 and forgetting that we also have other conditions that we need to be looking at. And as we've said, lifestyle diseases are diseases that are here with us. They are going to be around and they need to be taken care of. And it's also known that lifestyle diseases actually cause more deaths than most of the infectious diseases that we have. So it is important that our viewers and our patients get to know that for now they have to follow on their health regularly, and they need to be up to speed. So right now, as we look at the behavior and the visits, for example, the visits have definitely gone down, and largely it's because of the fear of contracting COVID-19. And clearly, this is at the expense of other lifestyle conditions. Diabetes, hypertension, cancers, and other conditions need to be followed up. So it is important for our patients to know that even as we go through this pandemic, that they also follow on their other medical conditions. Because unlike COVID, which may give you symptoms and effects immediately, most of these lifestyle diseases become progressively worse as you go. And unfortunately, you're not necessarily able to tell whether things are going wrong until you have gone to the clinic for, say, checks of your sugar, your blood pressure, and also to see whether there is any complication that is going on with other organs and systems.
Okay,
So-
now speaking of prevalence, the WHO has actually said diabetes and hypertension is becoming quite a burden, especially for Kenya, and would like to look at those two. And starting off with diabetes, Khadija Abdul, a high school student, has been suffering for more than 5 years now. She narrates her life living with diabetes with an understanding that it is a controllable condition. She paints a picture of the young face of diabetes.
My name is Khadija Abdul. I am in Form 3. My best subjects are history and science.
And you see what you get.
I would like to be a journalist. I've been diabetic for 5 years right now. I used to urinate a lot, get tired, thirsty at all times, hunger. So my mom was told by her friend that maybe it might be diabetes. My mom's friend, since she was diabetic, she tested me with her glucometer, and then they found out that my blood sugar was high, so I was taken to hospital. And from there, I had medications until I was discharged. I was 12 years. They couldn't tell me in details, but they told me that I wouldn't be able to take sugary things at that time. So I couldn't understand, I was really angry. And then, like the doctors, as they were monitoring me and stuff, they told me that other many children are living with diabetes like me, and I got a chance to meet all of them, and they gave me their storylines. So then there, I just tried to accept it. My mom was the one who was doing it. At times my cousin, and then like I went to hospital during the checkup. They told me that at some point my mom might not be there, or whoever was injecting me, since I had support from the nurses. So like I would just go every single morning, I go there, inject myself, then go for breakfast. In the evening, I do the same. The people who knew that I was diabetic were only my closest friends and my classmates at some point. And I never wanted them to tell many people that I was diabetic because I was fearing that I might be discriminated. My message to the young people is that diabetes is a controllable condition. They should not fear it. If I live with diabetes and I'm okay, then they can. Surely they can.
Very powerful message there by Khadija. A diagnosis of diabetes is not the end of the road. And speaking of which, we are also joined by Lucy John Bosco, who is living with type 1 diabetes all the way from Tanzania. Lucy, when were you diagnosed with diabetes?
20 years ago.
And how old are you so that we can do the difference?
33.
And what brought about the diagnosis? What were the symptoms?
Oh, okay. Luckily, I knew diabetes symptoms before I got diagnosed. So I had to drink water a lot, especially at night. Having the going to toilet for short call every time, especially at night. So I decided to test my urine because they said once you are diabetic, then the urine will taste very sugary. So when I tested, and it was like, I tested all the sugar in my urine. I called my mom. By that time I was in school. I started in Uganda. So I called my mom. I told her what happened. Then the process of coming back home started, but I never make it through Dar es Salaam because I went in the coma when I was on my way.
Wow.
Yeah, so after like 3 weeks, I woke up, I found myself in Mount Mary Hospital in Arusha.
Okay,
Yeah, so
at 13 years of age, what made you, I don't know, what gave you information about diabetes? Is it in your family?
No, it's not in my family, but my mom, she's a nurse, midwifery. And during weekends, she used to go at work. So at National Hospital, Muhimbili National Hospital. So our office was nearby the Tanzanian Diabetes Association. So when I'm going with her during weekends, I used to like pray around the office and all that. So I used to see the signs and like everything. So when it happened to me, I was like, oh my God, maybe it's diabetes. That's why it was so easy for me to know it is diabetes.
Okay, so Dr. Lucy touches on some of the symptoms she was feeling. First of all, define for us, what is diabetes?
Diabetes is a disease where the body is not able to handle sugar. So you find that what happens when you actually do a blood test, you find that there's too much sugar in the blood. When you eat, the body should actually take up what it needs to use. Then the rest of it takes away. But in this situation of diabetes, what usually happens is that the body is, two things happen. Like for Hadija, she's type 1 diabetes. That means her pancreas is not able to produce any insulin. Actually, very little. It produces very little insulin or none. That's what we call type 1 diabetes. We have the type 2 diabetes, which now happens after the age of 40. We actually say after the age of 40. That means that the people who are adults. In that situation, what happens is that the body produces little insulin. That is, it produces insulin, but it is not enough for the body to utilize what you call the glucose in the blood. Then there's also another mechanism in type 2 diabetes, in that the body produces the insulin, but the body is not sensitive to actually take up that insulin. Those are the two types of diabetes that we usually have.
So Lucy has type 1 diabetes. The lady, the young girl, Khadija, also has type 1 diabetes.
Correct.
So this is one that you're born with.
Yeah, it's not that you're born. You can be born with, or sometimes it develops when you're younger. Okay, and that's what we are talking about. Your pancreas not able to produce very little insulin, to produce very little insulin or no insulin at all. And that's why even for them, the treatment is that they need to supplement the insulin that the body is not able to produce. And the symptoms that happen with that is that what happens is that you have too much of the insulin in the blood. It must come out. The way it comes out is that it comes out through the urine. When it comes out with the urine, you find that it's like the way if you put sugar somewhere, it pulls water into it. That's the same way that happens even with that sugar in the urine. So it pulls water out into the urine, and you find that they need to urinate a lot of time. So the more you urinate more times, the more you get thirsty. And that's why even when you had Khadija say that, even Lucy, that they needed to drink a lot of water. Just because you pass a lot of water, so you actually need to replace the same thing.
But she also mentioned when she was being transferred from Uganda to Tanzania, she went into a coma. What would cause that? So
that is actually a condition that we call diabetes ketoacidosis.
What is that?
That one happens when actually you have actually had a high sugar for a long time. And what happens that you tend to lose, as you pass urine, you actually tend to lose what you call electrolytes. Electrolytes are those things that we call them ions. Remember those things that we used to do in chemistry?
Yes.
Sodium, potassium, calcium. You tend to lose all of that. Then number two, what happens that once you lose a lot of water, you also become dehydrated, and that affects your brain. Your brain tends to actually be like dehydrated. That means it's dry, because you have actually pulled the water from the body. And that's why patients usually go to that coma. And that happens when you actually have no insulin. That means your cells cannot take up any glucose, so they are not able to actually metabolize. Metabolize means they are not able to use that one to give you energy to have the normal cellular function that happens anywhere in any organ. And if that happens for a long time, you actually find that one goes into that coma.
Okay, now Lucy, it's been 20 years and you are healthy and thriving. What did you have to do on a personal capacity to adapt to living with type 1 diabetes?
Okay, I think people who maybe are newly diagnosed with diabetes, they have to know how to live with diabetes, because having diabetes is one thing. How to live with diabetes is another thing. They say, put your friend closer, but put your enemy more closer, because diabetes is like an enemy who can destroy your life. So you have to read that enemy, you know, what to do, what not to do, what to eat, what not to eat. You have to know your limitation. So in Tanzania, I don't know in other countries, but in Tanzania, there's a lot of misinformation about diabetes, especially when it comes to what you're supposed to eat and what you're not supposed to eat. So when I finished my Form 4, I decided to take short course of diabetes counseling and nutrition, because I love to eat and I love to eat good. So I wanted to know, what am I supposed to eat, I'm supposed to avoid and all that. So after finishing that course is when I knew, it's like, okay, it's not what to eat, it's how you eat what you want to eat. That's why I'm looking healthy, and I've been volunteering, teaching people about diabetes, especially on the angle of how you're supposed to live with diabetes in order to avoid diabetes complication.
Lucy, I'm sure people listening to you are wondering, what do you mean by what you're supposed to eat?
Oh, okay. For example, I would like to refer in Tanzania, because I know much about here. I don't know about other places. So in Tanzania, most people with diabetes, they're being told that you're not supposed to eat starch, only because starch or carbohydrates produce sugar. But fine, we have diabetes. We also need starch in our body, but we don't need to have a lot of starch. You see? So you have to know that the amount of starch that you're supposed to take in. If you're used to eat a large plate of rice, so you have to eat only single serving spoon of rice, or only 2 series of bread. That's what I'm saying, that you have to know how you're supposed to eat what you want to eat. And also you have to like check your blood sugar every time. If you have the equipment, strips and machines, you have to check maybe 3 to 6 times, so that you can know how am I supposed to eat the food that you want to eat.
Okay, Lucy, I'm sure we'll be elaborating on that more even as we go along. I am told we are now joined by Patricia Katunga, who is living with diabetes, and she is right here in Nairobi's Kibra. Patricia, asante sana kwa kujiunga nasi. And we are also joined by Evans Nyabega, who is actually hypertensive, another condition that we shall be looking at that is a lifestyle condition. Now, Patricia, nitaanza na wewe. Ulijua siku gani ama mwaka upi ulikuwa na diabetes?
Nilijua 2016 December tarehe 25.
Ulikuwa na miaka ngapi?
2016.
Ulikuwa na miaka ngapi?
Nilikuwa na miaka nilikuwa na 53.
Ehe.
52.
Na walikuambia una diabetes ipi?
52.
Walikuambia una diabetes ipi?
Sasa wakati huo kulikuwa na outreach. Wakunieleza ni gani, walinituma Bagadhi.
Alafu kule wakakwambia una ipi?
Wakaniambia waniambia ni step 1 ama ni step 2. Waniambia sijui ni step 2.
Ehe. Na sasa unaishi vipi? Unatumia insulin ama ni kuangalia kile unakula?
Natumia dawa, na punguziwa chakula, natumia tu madawa, na kunywa asubuhi na kunywa jioni, natumia tu tembe.
Kwa hivyo hujawahi tumia insulin, eh?
Nilitumia mwanzo lakini saa hii natumia tembe.
Haya, sasa kwenye jamii yenu kuna yeyote ambaye ako na diabetes?
Wasasi walikuwa naye, brother yangu 2 wako naye, wasichana 3 wako naye.
Aha, kwa hivyo vile uliambiwa unaye haukushangaa?
Nilishangaa kidogo, sababu mimi nilikuwa mwembamba, nilikuwa nafikiri wale na wavata sababu ni wanono.
Aha, okay, sawa. Now, Dr. Mogere, she brings up a bit of the myths and misconceptions when it comes to diabetes in as far as how it looks like physically. Please bust some of these myths for us.
All right. Well, thank you, Gladys. When it comes to diabetes, of course, many people who have said things about diabetes. Many of them are informed. Many are ignorant, but I think it is important for us to know, even as we go along, that when it comes to diabetes, like in this country, it is very sad to note that majority of our patients who may have diabetes or a condition that we call prediabetes, which is a condition that precedes diabetes, almost 2/3 have no idea that they have diabetes. And that's why we talk about the importance of screening, so that the diseases can be picked, or this diabetes can be picked. When it comes to the things that one may present with, one has already mentioned the issue of thirst, excessive appetite, passing a lot of urine. Physically speaking, when you look at a patient with diabetes, it really depends on the stage at which this patient presents. You may find that there's really nothing much that you see in this patient, but the patient may experience a couple of things, which may be complications that arise from high sugar levels. One of the things that the patient may present with includes, one, problems with their nerves, a condition that we call peripheral neuropathy. So the patients may have a tingling or pins and needle sensation, which may arise in their hands or in their feet. Patients may also begin to lose hair in their legs, especially if we have problems with circulation, because one of the other complications that is associated with diabetes is a condition that we call peripheral arterial disease, where with reduced circulation and therefore reduced nutrients to the skin and different parts of the legs, we are going to very likely lose the health and the integrity of the skin, and therefore loss of hair. Now, for some who, especially for the type 2s, you find that during the early stages of the disease, even as the disease progresses, a good number of people may lose weight, all right? So you may have that as one of the symptoms, and therefore important for people to look into that. But then as diabetes progresses, especially if it is not picked early, then it causes other bigger complications. And this is now when we have problems with the eyes, problems with the heart, and this is where we talk about the risks that Dr. Njau was talking about, which are the cardiovascular risks. And these patients with diabetes are highly predisposed to the cardiovascular risks that include coronary artery disease with heart attacks and strokes, and patients may also develop heart failure, and features of heart failure include intolerance to physical exertion, where a patient has problems with taking a flight of stairs or going up an inclined slope or things like that. So when it comes to diabetes, the symptoms may not necessarily be very obvious. You may actually be looking normal, you may feel nothing, and only when you get to a hospital that you find that incidentally you have high sugars. And that is why we say it is always important, even when we don't feel anything, that we actually get to our hospitals to just have a few things checked. For example, the sugar and the blood pressure. Let's not just think that just because we are okay, we don't feel anything, that we are fine. Even a vehicle is not always okay as much as it feels okay when you take it to the garage. So it is important that we get to realize that it's not always that you'll have symptoms or signs.
Okay, now back to Patricia. Patricia, ulikuwa umenieleza ulipata stroke na pia unaishi na hypertension. Ulipata stroke mwaka upi?
Stroke nilipata 2019 mwezi wa 3.
Na ilitangulia
nilipata stroke na ilitangulia, nilianza kuumwa na kichwa, sikukuwa najua kama niko na pressure. Nilianza na kuumwa na kichwa, ikaniuma usiku na mchana ikiwa itulii. Sasa wakati huo nikalala, kuamka asubuhi nikawa nimepula ulime, mdomo imevula, macho imepura, yani nikawa seti moja sioni na mdomo imepinduka. Sasa kwenda Kenyatta ndio niliambiwa ni stroke. Ndio walikanifanya x-ray. Pressure kupimwa ndio ilikuwa juu. Ndio nikaanzishwa dawa za pressure. Sikuona nikipewa dawa za stroke. Nilianzishwa tu dawa za pressure. Mdomo ikaanza kurudi pole pole. Mpaka saa hii imerudi, lakini hiyo macho seti moja inakuanga ina shida.
Okay, and daktari,
natumia miwani.
Asante. Dr. Ray, she's talking about the complications. What is the relation between diabetes, hypertension, and now a stroke?
Okay, now thank you, Gladys. So you see, like now what we are talking, those are the myths that we actually talk about. And like Dr. Alex said, even like before one, like for type 2 diabetes, before one is diagnosed, you actually had the diabetes for probably what we know is actually between 5 to 10 years by the time you come to get diagnosed. And that means that most of the patients will actually, most of the people actually present with symptoms 5 years down the line after the diabetes started. And that's what we actually say, like what Dr. Alex said, that the emphasis that after the age of 40, we always recommend that you probably have your sugar checked annually. The blood pressure, the same way after the age of 40. The myth is that like now for Patricia, you see, she got a stroke, but she didn't know that she didn't have hypertension. The bad thing about hypertension is one, that you have high blood pressure, but it doesn't pain you anywhere. So that by the time you're coming to know about the hypertension, it has already caused you damage. And like for Patricia, it was unfortunate that what actually developed is that she had the stroke, unfortunately. And that's usually for most of the people you actually find that is the first symptom that they have, sign that they have hypertension.
Okay, why don't you define for us what hypertension is in this case? It is called high blood pressure. Yes. What exactly causes it?
The hypertension, for hypertension, we say that the causes are many. There are very, very many causes. But the first major thing that causes hypertension is actually age, like I said. And all over the world, research has actually been shown that after one reaches, of course, we have two types of hypertension, okay? We have what we call primary hypertension and secondary hypertension. Yes. It's easier to remember because we all went to primary school and went to secondary school. So the primary hypertension is the one that we actually say it's the one that happens with age. Why it's called primary is because it's actually not caused by anything in particular, but actually by the changes that happen as one ages. What happens is that there are those changes that happen with aging. And those changes that happen that with the blood vessels, when you're a baby, the vessels tend to be like a balloon. The heart pumps the blood through the vessels, and they are easy to balloon out. So that means there is a passage of blood through the vessels. But it has actually been shown that from the age of 20, or even probably a little bit earlier, around 15, 14, you actually that there are those little changes that happen on the vessels. And based now on the other things that happen, whether you smoke, whether you are obese, whether you are diabetic, or whether you have all the other risk factors, it can happen earlier for you. But by the age of 40, most of the people you actually start finding that those changes that have actually happened, and now they are actually starting to give you pressure. Why do you say the age is actually one of that factors? Is that when you actually look epidemiological, that means when you actually go to the communities and look at what is the prevalence or what is the size or the burden of hypertension in the community, what you find that is that by the time one is around 50 years, you actually find that like around 30% of the people have hypertension. By the time now you are probably in your 60, 40%. By the time now you are probably in your 70, 80, you actually find that almost like 60% of the people are hypertensive, just because of the aging. Of course, there are other things that we also do that actually contribute to one getting pressure, and those are things like smoking, even alcohol.
You mentioned secondary hypertension.
Yes. Then the secondary hypertension, that is the one that we actually see a little bit earlier in age. And we call it secondary because there is a cause, okay? There's a cause to the hypertension. And those are the hypertension that we see below the age of 40. And the causes that we actually know that bring that are the issues with the thyroid issues, okay? Whether your thyroid is overworking, what we call hyperthyroidism, or hypothyroidism. That means your thyroid is underworking. Number two are the kidney diseases. There are patients who develop kidney diseases, and if they have kidney diseases, it actually, because the heart and the kidney work in series, okay? You find that if you get develop a kidney disease, it has to be a little bit harder for the heart to push the blood through the kidneys. So actually that means the heart must work a little bit hand, and that's what we call pressure. Okay. Then there are other things that we call, you call endocrine diseases. These like patients who have adrenal issues. Adrenal is actually one of the, adrenal gland is one of the glands that's actually found on top of the kidney. Long time ago when we used to be in school, it used to be called suprarenal. That means it was used to be found above the kidney. But so if they're actually having that, the adrenals overworking, then that's one of the other things. The other thing that we have is narrowing of the vessels that go to the kidney.
Okay.
That's what we call arterial stenosis. So those are actually the secondary causes. The good thing about the secondary causes is that if you're actually able to handle them, to treat them to completion, you actually find that your pressure may actually go away. And that's why we actually say it's a secondary cause, because it's brought by something else.
Okay, let's bring in Evans Nyambega, who is hypertensive. Evans, when did you find out you were living with hypertension?
Thank you, NTV, for inviting me to the studio today. It is very difficult to tell when I first felt hypertensive. Because it doesn't give you any signs. It only comes in the process of the attack. So around 10 years ago, I suffered hypertension, and as a result, I had heart attack and a stroke.
Okay, and at that point, did they tell you maybe you had other pre-existing conditions, maybe like diabetes?
Sorry?
Do you have any other condition apart from high blood pressure? Was there any indication of maybe diabetes?
Yeah, I've already indicated that as a result of this hypertension, I suffered stroke and heart attack.
Okay, and in your family, anyone who's ever lived with hypertension before?
Yeah, I can recall, this is much later now.
Yes.
My father died in 1980. So he died under such circumstances. So my mother dies 20 years later, and she suffered from diabetes. So I can say my family has this hierarchy of problems.
Okay, Evans. Now, Dr. Mugere, before we take a short break, in the case of Evans, it sounds like these diseases we're talking about could easily be in the family lineage and you could get one or the other. Is that the case?
Thank you, Gladys. It's important to know that when it comes to lifestyle diseases, heredity is actually a possible risk. In fact, broadly, we usually classify the risk factors for these lifestyle diseases, and in this case here, talking about hypertension, into what we call modifiable risk factors and non-modifiable risk factors. So the modifiable risk factors, as the name suggests, means that you can actually do something about it to actually correct the problem. Non-modifiable risk factors include heredity, the age, race, and so on. So it is actually possible for it to run in a family. In fact, for most of our patients, whenever we ask them whether they have a family history, some will actually tell you they don't. But unfortunately, like I said earlier, the health-seeking behavior, especially of Kenyans, is a bit interesting in the sense that you actually may find that some people have actually never gone to have a blood pressure reading. Many people are walking out there with blood pressure readings that are high without the knowledge of it, because hypertension is largely a silent disease. So yes, it is important for people to have screening done, at least even twice a year, do your blood pressure, do your sugars, and this is done all over. So people should actually go to the clinics near them. For those who come to AR, that is done every other time. So we encourage them to do that. So to answer your question, yes, we have heredity as one of the risk factors.
Okay, now our core conversation again today. Remember, we asked you that question of the day. Are you dealing with any lifestyle diseases? We've touched on them. Hypertension, diabetes, obesity is another one, and any other cardiovascular condition. And how are you coping with them during this season? When we come back, we'll be talking to some of those that have joined us to let us know how that looks like for them in this season. But before I take that break, let's look at some of what you are saying. Uncle Wakalori says, I'm in my 7th year and sometimes I feel like giving up. I wish you could tell us what exactly you're living with. Next one here, Almuda Matani, who says, no, thankfully I'm healthy and may Allah heal those with any kind of these diseases. Thank you for being empathetic. And Jojo Eunice says, in regards to more men having lifestyle diseases, it's because they also fear water. Tell a man to take you to a VCT center. He will be like, when you turn negative, it means I'm also negative. Interesting. This is what Dr. Bogeri was alluding to. Health-seeking behavior in men is actually very wanting compared to that of women. We'll be right back on Your World in a moment.
Friday, March 6th, the government of Kenya received confirmation of the first case of COVID-19.
The declaration of COVID-19 in Kenya has placed an even heavier burden on a devolved healthcare system that was already stretched and in most times inaccessible. The pandemic has put a spotlight on the intrinsic issues in the sector, such as a shortage of medical personnel, inadequate or substandard PPEs, shortage of testing and medical supplies, a scared citizenry that has scaled down visits to hospitals, and a health emergency that's affecting hygiene, epidemiology, disease prevention, public and mental health. It has also highlighted the courage of health workers putting themselves and their families at great risk as they work on front lines in the prevention of and defense against this pandemic to save lives. On Thursday, 28th May, the Nation Media Group will hold a live virtual Nation Leadership Forum on COVID-19 and health from 7:30 p.m. on NTV. With the help of a panel of experts, it shall delve into the effects of COVID-19 on the health sector and the various measures instituted to ensure the Kenya healthcare system survives the shocks of COVID-19, including attainment of universal health coverage, and charts a way forward for the sector in the years ahead. Nation Leadership Forum. Engaging society, impacting the nation.
This is Fact Finder from the BBC.
Fake news was so good that so many issues arose before the demonstrations.
The authoritative sources of information, it is becoming difficult to identify them.
Now, what was the role of misinformation in Zimbabwe's protests? We'll tell you what we found out.
We look at what happens when Facebook works with independent fact-checking organizations to combat misinformation on their platform.
And social media applications are tightening the news on misinformation with new features on their sites.
This is the time to make sure every table in Kenya has food on it.
dial *126# to transfer your bonga points now so they can buy food and necessities at any outlet with a Lipa na M-Pesa till.
Safaricom is for you. Just move to the next level with the Daily Nation. Every day, every Monday, Junior Sport will move you to the top of your class with KCPE revision papers. To move to a healthier, fitter, and more conscious you, read The Healthy Nation every Tuesday. My network will inspire your career, your passion, your biashara, and your network every Friday. Just move to the truth.
Amara Sanitizer is an alcohol-based sanitizer containing ethanol, which has a broad-spectrum antimicrobial activity, killing bacteria, viruses, and fungi. Amara Sanitizer is enriched with aloe vera, making it gentle on your hands.
Thank you for staying with Your World. My name is Gladys Gachanja. Our conversation today, COVID-19 and lifestyle diseases, how those who are living with these conditions are coping. And our question of the day to you is, are you living with any of them? We're talking about hypertension, diabetes, any other cardiovascular disease, heart disease, and of course, obesity. You can reach out to us on that hashtag New Normal, and or you can text or call in with any of the questions to the two doctors with us in studio. And speaking of which, I've got Dr. Elijah Njao, who is a cardiologist from the Nairobi Hospital, Dr. Alex Mogere, who is a physician at the AR Healthcare, Patricia Katunga, who is a hypertensive diabetic and actually suffered a stroke, lives in Kibra here in Nairobi. Evans Nyambega, who is hypertensive, also suffered a heart attack and a stroke, lives here in Nairobi. And Lucy John Bosco, living with type 1 diabetes all the way in Tanzania. Now, I will start off with you, Lucy. You've been living for over 20 years knowing you have type 1 diabetes. Is there a special diet that you have that has helped you along in as far as living with this condition? Lucy, if you can hear me, is there a special diet you've ever lived or adopted to that has helped you live with this condition and live healthily?
You're breaking through. Can you please come again?
Well, I'm asking, is there a special diet that you actually stick to that helps you live with this condition?
Honestly, no. There's no, because for me, I believe there's no any specific diet, because not everyone can afford maybe a brown bread, maybe a brown rice. As long as you know that you have to eat a little bit of starch, a little bit of protein, and you have to eat a big amount of vegetables. So I don't know if that is specific diet, but that's how I normally eat. From my breakfast, lunch, and supper. I only control the starch that I'm eating, and I eat a lot of vegetables in my every meal. So I don't know if that's specific diet, but there's no any specific diet.
I hear you. Yeah. Now, another question would be, do you live on insulin or any medication, or you just control your diet?
I'm type 1, so I depend on insulin.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
yeah,
and
I'm type 1.
If you depend on insulin, how has it been accessing hospital to get it?
Oh, okay. Honestly speaking, as many researchers have shown that diabetes medication is very expensive. So as in Tanzania, because insulin those insulin, they call vial insulin. One can afford it in maybe 1 bottle from 20,000, sometimes even to 25. And there's other insulin which are pen-filled insulin, which is Novomix, that they are mixed, length and soluble in one insulin pen. So that is much expensive, from 45 Tanzanian shillings to 50 or 60,000 Tanzanian shillings. So not everyone can afford, but I see the Tanzanian Diabetes Association, they are doing their part to make sure that every children with diabetes can access insulin.
And speaking of other patients, during this COVID-19 season, do you see patients shying away from a hospital because they're afraid of contracting COVID-19, hence not going to get their medication or insulin?
Oh, okay. We were advised that to have at least 3-month medications. So if you are using insulin, so you have to make sure that you have the 3-month insulin if you are having health insurance. So others do have the health insurance, so they do cover that. And those who have no health insurance, they were advised to try so hard to have access for insulin for 3 months. Because, as you know, not only diabetes, but people living with any NCD, they are more likely to have COVID-19 complication or effects twice more than people who have no NCD diabetes. I mean, NCD diseases. But when we're talking about NCD in Tanzania, I saw like many people living in NCD were very scared, like, no, maybe I have heart problems, so once I get COVID-19, I will die soon, and so. But I realized that you are diabetic, you have heart problem, you have cancer, only you need to do is to make sure you stick to your medication, to make sure that you eat healthy, to boost your immunity so that you can survive COVID-19.
Okay, very well said. Lucy John Bosco joining us from Tanzania, living with type 1 diabetes, and she is an advocate of the same. Thank you for joining us. And at this point, I'll go to Patricia Katunga. Patricia, yale madawa ya kuishi naye, especially insulin, ama yale madawa unasema unakunywa kwa sababu ya diabetes, umeweza kuyapata hospitalini ama pia unaogopa kwenda hospitalini?
Mimi napata hospitalini. Napata amure.
Okay, ulikuwa umesema wewe ni community health worker. Kuna wale ambao umeona wana haya magonjwa na wanakataa kwenda hospitalini kwa sababu wanaogopa COVID.
Wanaogopa kwenda kupimwa. Kwanza kuna mama moja hata saa hii hana dawa. Yeye anaogopa, alipoteza kadi yake na anaogopa kwenda kupimwa sababu alipoteza kadi. Sasa anasema akienda atapungiwa.
Na sasa unawaeleza vipi ndio waendelee kupata matibabu?
Mimi nawaelimisha sababu unaona hata mimi wakati huo ndio nipate stroke. Nilikuwa nimekuja naona ni kama nimepona, nikawa nachezea kumeza dawa. Ndio iliniletea hiyo shida stroke na pressure juu ya kunjino dawa. Sasa nawaelimisha ile madhara inaweza tokea mtu akiwa na sukari.
Lakini sasa haya magonjwa tumesikia kutoka Lucy wa Tanzania ni very expensive kupata haya madawa. Ukiambia upate miezi 3 ya madawa, chakula na dawa, watu watapata nini?
Unajua ile shida iko, dawa ni kununua. Ukiwa unakaa tu sababu hizo dawa ziko na pesa mingi. Mara mingi ngava aino unaenda Mbagathi kila saa unaambiangwa aenda ukanunue, hakunanga na ndio hospitali. Ile ya government inaweza kukusaidia. Ukienda Kenyatta pia unaandikiwa ukanunue. Sasa hizo dawa ni pesa. Ukikosa pesa unakaa bila kumeza. Ama upate hizi hospitali za mashirika kama Kibrandio, sikikuja unaweza enda upate. Lakini sikikuja watu ni wengi, mnapanga laini sinaisha. Ikiisha utafiti utafute town, uende ukanunue. Ukikosa pesa unakaa bila kumeza.
Na sasa chakula ni muhimu kula vizuri ndio immune system yako iwe sawa ikulinde kupata COVID-19. Pale Kibra watu wana changamoto zipi?
Hapa Kibra kuna changamoto sana kwanza kuhusu hiyo chakula, sababu unaona kama mgonjwa wa sukari kuna vitu zile anahitaji akule na kuna vitu zile alikuwa amekula zinasimamishwa. Sasa unajitahidi tu uonje kitu kidogo, si kushiba, lakini uonje kitu kidogo juu ya uhai, na kama uko na dawa ikuwe imekusaidia kumeza. Shida iko mingi sana hapa Kibra, lakini tunang'ang'ana tu.
Okay, na umesema wewe ni community health worker. Kuna wale washirika wengine ambao si wa serikali wanasaidia?
Kuna shirika kama Amref hapo wanapeana na 100 za mwezi moja, unapewa na 100. Unaweza enda Kibra ndio huko ikikuja inapeanwa bure. Kuna Sobco ukiwa na 200 unaenda unachukua za mwezi moja. Hivyo tu, kama unakosa unaenda kwa chemist unanunua ya siku hiyo, kama ni shilingi 20 moja, na unameza tu siku hiyo ya asubuhi na jioni unanunua.
Aha, Evans Nyabega.
Kama una pesa wewe unakaa tu.
Yes, sawa. Now, Evans Nyabega, you had said there are also other challenges, those with that are hypertensive, that are also dealing with, especially access to medication. Talk about the same.
Asante. Wajua Kenya mzima ama Afrika mzima tuko na challenge ya bei ya hizo dawa. Especially, okay, as for me, inaweza sema iko changamoto kubwa kwa sababu kuipata hiyo dawa hata kwa karibu na wewe ni shida. Kuipata kwa urahisi ni shida. You know, even the cost is very high. So in most cases it's very difficult. That is why we are always crying, reduce the prices of these things so that we are able to buy.
Now, Evans, in the season of COVID-19, have you had a chance to go to hospital?
Yes, I have had an opportunity to go to the hospital without much ado. But my worry is others, because like in where the setting in which I operate is a bit easier for me. I am worried about the rest of the people outside there.
I hear you, Evans, and Dr. Njau. I mean, those are very pertinent issues that have been raised by Lucy, Patricia, and Evans in as far as access to medical care. You said adherence is important, but it's expensive.
True.
So how do we help these patients?
Of course, Gladys, I feel for all of them, and I even feel for patients who actually have to live with these diseases every day. The main thing is that after we diagnose them, then what next?
Yeah.
Of course, the bad thing about the chronic disease is that every day you must take your medicine. Like diabetes, you don't miss your medicine. You miss your medicine, your sugar go up. The same thing with hypertension. You miss your pressure medicine, the pressure will go up. And that's what we actually say. That what we call adherence is what is important. But of course, there are many other factors that come into play. People, are the medicine accessible? If they're accessible, are they affordable? If they are affordable, are patients able to tolerate them in terms of when they take them, they feel good, they don't get side effects, and so that they can keep taking them. Of course, those are things that actually have now to come into policy. Yeah. And what we know is that the government actually has come up with what we call essential drug list. And even for like diabetes and hypertension, and even cancer, you have seen there has been a push for things like cancer. And the most important thing is that for the government to do that, in collaboration with WHO, is that it must make the drugs accessible, affordable, and that you can get them anywhere else in the country. Of course, like there is a push for the insulin that the insulin, which actually that the government, also the Kenya Diabetes Society of Kenya, they have actually been pushing, and those are things that we need to encourage. The only thing that we need to do is to scale that up and actually to support it, that all the time patients are actually able to get them. The big challenge that happens is that sometimes the drugs are there, so they are seasonally there, some other times they are not there. And for those drugs, you actually need to have them to have a reliable supply all the time so that your patients do not miss that. The only bad thing about that is that if patients do not adhere to the medication, you actually find that we get more complication rates. And that we find that patients will come with heart failure, patients will come with stroke, patients will come with arrhythmias, patients will come now with very high sugars and they are in coma. So those are the bad things. Of course, now we are in uncertain times.
Yes.
That, and like the writer said, if you miss the medicine in the government hospitals, what do you do? Number two, probably you're laid off. You're not. If you had a business, it's not working. There are no people to actually come and buy goods for you because there's all that restrictions that are ongoing. So we are actually living in hard times. And those are the things that we actually need to be in as a government, as a people, to support each other, to support those patients who are living in those chronic conditions, so that they are actually able to afford and to access the medicine that they need for their day-to-day conditions.
Okay, Dr. Mongere, it looks like COVID-19 could be with us, be an endemic, and we might have to live with it going forward. What should be done on a policy level to ensure that we do not lose lives to these conditions?
Okay, thank you, Gladys. I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done. Previously, we have put a lot of emphasis on communicable diseases, and a lot of advocacy, a lot of resources have been allocated to try and manage these conditions. However, when we look at non-communicable diseases, this is a group of diseases that has largely been ignored, although it is gaining track in the recent past. So we believe that the different stakeholders will actually just come in and put in a little more effort. As I may have alluded to earlier, we are having about 50% of deaths globally from non-communicable diseases. And it's even more worrying that 80% of this actually happen in Africa. Most of the non-communicable diseases affect the low to middle income societies. So these are the societies that actually need a lot of intervention. So we need the government to come in, we need other stakeholders to come in to create a policy that helps in both access to healthcare, ensuring that we actually ensure that we get universal health coverage. Number two, that we ensure that we actually have drugs that are affordable, as the patients have alluded to, and as Dr. Njau has said. These drugs are very expensive, and sometimes you find that when you actually prescribe, as a doctor, when you prescribe a drug to a patient, and probably this is a drug that you believe will actually help the patient get better in terms of reducing complications and probably improving the parameters, if it's blood pressure or diabetes we're talking about, we actually need to have these drugs accessible. We need to be able to afford them. But you find that sometimes your drug list gets up to 20,000 and probably somebody earns half of that. So we need people to come in so that our patients can be able to access these drugs. So we have more outpatient facilities that actually offer the services of screening and ensuring that we do not have situations where we get complications from these non-communicable diseases. So a lot of work has to be done, probably from the healthcare workers. We probably need to also improve on communication to ensure that the patients understand the conditions, because I think at this point in time, even looking at what is going on with the COVID-19, that it's like our patients have somehow forgotten what it means to actually have diabetes or hypertension or cancer. These are serious conditions. They may not necessarily cause you immediate complications, but the complications are irreversible. So we actually need to take them seriously. So the patients, the healthcare workers, the government, and the different stakeholders have to come together to come up with ways of ensuring universal health coverage with access to healthcare services, access to affordable medication, and so on.
Dr. Mogere, what is the role of telemedicine, especially at a time such as this?
Telemedicine definitely is something that is coming up, and in medicine, of course, we have a few challenges, but definitely for a time like this, it will help. But again, you see, when it comes to evaluation of a patient, we look at several things. The patient will give you the history of their condition. The doctor will listen and make a judgment from the history. But in order for you to pin down a diagnosis, you actually need to do a physical examination, all right? So you're able to examine to try and corroborate the history. And if you're not able to come up with a diagnosis, then you actually need to do laboratory or imaging services to be able to evaluate the patient further. So we definitely have room for improvement in telemedicine, such that if I'm actually to listen to a patient who has conditions, telling me a story, then we find a way or a modality of doing the physical examination, which may be very difficult if there is no contact. But for things such as imaging and referrals for lab services, these are things that can be done without necessarily the doctor having, to be present. But physical examination, the doctor has to be there to be able to listen. But I believe in the age that we are living in, with the tech-savvy individuals in the IT industry, I believe that this is something that we shall overcome in the near future.
Okay, now we take another short break on Your World. When we come back, we will be joined by Wandaye Gitonga, who has changed his lifestyle completely. And this is because it was time, he says, for him to take charge of his own life and live a full and healthy life. After the break.
Basic protective measures as guided by the World Health Organization. Clean hands frequently with soap and clean water. Cover nose and mouth when coughing and sneezing with a tissue or flexed elbow. Avoid close contact 1 meter or 3 feet with anyone with cold or flu-like symptoms. If you have fever, cough and difficulty breathing, seek medical care early. Avoid raw or uncooked animal products. Help the world put an end to the spread of respiratory diseases by sharing this message with a friend. Message brought to you by Sour Herbal Family Bath Soap.
Working from home? No problem. Fiber Home has you covered with the fastest and most reliable internet speeds. Get connected today. Kazi lazima iendelee.
The three sides of Anna.
Is this how you were planning to save your marriage? By having your picture taken while going out from a hotel with that jerk?
I gave you my soul, and then now I find you with another woman once again.
I've come to ask you not to meddle in my life, or in my niece's lives. Do you get that?
Oh no, you're mistaken. Soledad is my employee.
Same guy who gave the pictures to your husband.
What pictures are you talking about?
He took pictures. He got some stupid pictures. Pictures were of you and I coming out of a hotel.
What?
The three sides of Anna.
COVID-19 is preventable. Protect yourself, your family, and the community. This message has been brought to you by the Government of Kenya and its partners.
To achieve great things in life, you must do little things every day, like the 1, 2, 3 with Colgate.
1, wake up, wake up. 2, brush up, brush up. 3, smile through your day with a fresh breath and strong tea. Smile through your day with a fresh breath and strong tea.
Do the 1, 2, 3 with Colgate and give yourself a future to smell about.
Amar Sanitizer is an alcohol-based sanitizer containing ethanol, which has a broad-spectrum antimicrobial activity, killing bacteria, viruses, and fungi. Amar Sanitizer is enriched with aloe vera, making it gentle on your hands.
It is your world. My name is Gladys Gachanja, and as I'd mentioned earlier, we're now joined by Wandai Gachanja, who is a hiker by profession, and he has a wellness story to share with us. Before we get to it, this is what he endeavors to do in the next couple of months.
Everyone has dreams. Mine is to climb Mount Everest. Society expects you to follow a very strict, certain way of life. And then at some point you just realize that it can be edited.
There's no reason why Kenya should not put its flag on top of Mount Everest. We need to actually go and say, okay, we are done here, get us another mountain.
2022 is not really a Gachanja project. It's bringing everyone on board and telling them whatever that makes you dance. That is Everest 22 for you.
That's a good way to introduce Wandai Gachanja, and he is a man with great ambition. Gachanja, even as you join us, walk us that journey to wellness. What made you get there?
Well, I have to say that I was feeling so not comfortable with myself and how I felt about my body. And I also wanted to enjoy the outdoors. And because what happened is when I was in college and I was in the President's Award scheme, and we used to do a lot of physical activities. But then when I got employed and went into work, all that went out. And I gained a lot of weight, and much of the outdoor I was not doing, and it became a problem. And when I started to enjoy going outside, it was a problem. I could not walk as fast. I could not enjoy myself. I was not feeling okay with me. And that is when I took the step towards a health lifestyle. And I restarted my outdoor lifestyle again. And that was about 2012, 2013. And in mind was to go up Mount Kilimanjaro. And I remember struggling so much to prepare for it, even doing small walks of 5 kilometers, even 10 kilometers was a problem. But then with consistency, and I did about, I think, over 15 hikes to prepare myself for Kilimanjaro. And still, by the time I was going up, I was still weighing about 89 kilos. And I struggled so much. And I even thinking that this would end up being the life I was to lead after, I can't believe it. It has been quite an awesome journey to come to this point.
Okay, so when you say you were struggling, in retrospect, what are the things about your lifestyle that had gotten you there?
Well, there was nothing much I was doing. I was waking up, going to work, and you are driving to work, you are coming back from work. Majorly, you're not doing anything, and then probably you are eating a lot of nyama choma, of course. You're also drinking, social drinking, and all that, and doing absolutely nothing in the way of fitness. So too much sitting, too much idleness in terms of physical activity, and that made me become overweight. At 91 kilos, I was feeling so off, completely off.
Okay, let me bring in Dr. Njau. Now, when you look at his pictures before, it looks like he's a normal Kenyan. He doesn't have any problem. But that is another myth about being overweight or obese, right?
Yes. Yeah, Gladys, hey, the Gachanja story is actually inspiring. Obesity is actually one of the major problems, and especially in younger people. But when you actually look at him, he's actually like a normal Kenyan. Even many people admire him for how he looks. If he comes from his vehicle and he opens up, people will say, wow, he's endowed in many ways.
Yeah.
But of course, that's a myth. And that's what we actually say. Being overweight is actually a risk for you and a risk to everybody. But looking at what he was and what he is inspiring. And we actually find that we have a lot of patients who we actually see, and they actually struggle with weight. And how Gachanja did it is actually something that I think many people need to learn to learn about. Of course, what we usually say is that most of the people, what matters is actually that lifestyle, that sedentary lifestyle. And of course, we say that for all of us, there's somewhere to start. And somewhere to start, we say, start moving. And that's what I usually tell my patients. Start moving. Even if it's walking for 5 minutes, build up to 10 to 15 minutes, 30 minutes, and to an hour. And you find that you are able to build that. You say, even Gachanja sees that even when he was up Mount Kilimanjaro, he had achieved it.
Yeah.
But he could still feel that he was still not the same. He could not live with that body that he had. And that actually, so what we need to do is that we say, what we tell people is that exercise is very important for many things, because it has actually been shown that it's able to prevent, for people who are not diabetic, who are not hypertensive, it's actually able to arrest that. For people, like Dr. Alex said, there are those patients we say they are pre-diabetes. They don't have diabetes yet, but they are going there. But if they incorporate exercise and they lose weight, you actually find that they are able to arrest that and not to proceed to that. And most of the time, what I usually tell my patients is that all the time, if you can actually lose only 10% of your weight, it makes a whole lot of a difference in many ways.
Are you also saying obesity can make you susceptible to these other conditions we've been talking about, hypertension, diabetes?
Yes,
and even cardiovascular?
Even cardiovascular. It can actually make you susceptible, even cancer. Yeah, even these lung issues, even COVID. It has actually been shown that patients who are obese actually tend to actually develop severe COVID disease compared to other people who have normal weight. So actually, obesity is actually one of the areas that we as a society can actually do something. And we actually change the way we look at it, our perspectives about it. And that's one of the things that actually what Dr. Alex was talking about, modifiable conditions. Yeah. Obesity is one of those modifiable things that we can actually do something about it.
Okay, Gachanja, apart from physical exercise, you mentioned you had to alter your diet. Talk about that.
Well, yes, at some point I had to drop in the animal products. That is meat, all kind of meat, that is. And it was a tough journey at first because, as you know, there's always the temptation of having your nyama choma at every corner in the city. So at first it was a bit of a struggle, but then with the discipline and consistency, I was able to drop all animal protein. And now I'm a vegan, and I am getting all the nutrients that I need from plant-based diet, and that has helped in the journey. At first, also even going to the mountain, because I'm really active physically, it was even a problem to figure out what are the right portions I needed to eat of certain meals. But now I think I've settled in the diet, and it's really working for me.
Okay, there are men who are listening to you and wondering what in God's name you're talking about. What options are these that are plant-based?
Oh, well, we have quite a lot of plant-based meals that you can have, from cereals like, let me just go like the beans, the dengus, the peas. There are so many cereals that you can have. And then also there are other fortified cereals like granola, oats, and all these are meals that can help you reach the dietary requirements that you need to live a healthy life.
Okay, now let me bring in Dr. Mogere. Men and meat seem to be synonymous, but hearing Gitonga say he lives a healthy lifestyle without any meats, is this a good idea? Would you actually advise?
Well, let me congratulate Gitonga for that broad action and decision, because indeed meat is one of the African delicacies that we have refused to divorce. So definitely it is the right decision that he made, because we all know that meat has its problems, and especially when we are talking about red meat. One of the problems that you get with such things as red meats is increased levels of cholesterol, which is one of the things that also we talk about when we're talking about non-communicable diseases. And cholesterol, the problem with it is that it builds up in the walls of your vessels, and as a result of that, narrowing the vessels, and especially if this happens in vital organs, especially the heart, you end up getting a heart attack. So if you're able to avoid meat, red meat particularly, then please do so. And if you have to take red meat, please do the lean meat. Try and make sure that you chop off especially the fat that you see in the red meat. The other thing is that if you are to choose to use alternative meat, then you have white meats, and white meats here includes the chicken and the fish. And for chicken, it's important to mention that you have to peel the skin, because the skin is very rich in cholesterol. So that is important. But even as we talk about that, it is also important to mention at this point that how this is prepared is also important, because deep frying them, even when you're eating the right thing, can also be a problem. So it is important to understand that it's not just enough to have the right foods, but also have the proper methods of preparing the foods.
Okay, now we are still joined by Evans Nyambega and of course Patricia Katunga. Patricia, maisha yamebadilika na COVID, lakini maisha lazima yaendelee. Kama president anakusikiza sasa, ungesema wasaidie aje wale ambao wanaishi na diseases kama hizi tunaongelea leo?
Mimi ile kitu ningeomba serikali tusaidie naye kwanza. Kitu ya kwanza ni madawa, sababu hakuna madawa tunapata kwa hospitali ya government, na government tunaelewa ndio rais wetu anaangalia. Kwa hivyo chenye tungeomba sana ni madawa, sababu dawa hatupati. Dawa ni kununua, tunanunua. Kwa hivyo ngava haitusaidii kama watu wa sukari na dawa. Tunanunua dawa ama hizi mashirika isiyo ya kiserikali ndio tunaweza pata usaidizi huko, nayo unapata na 100 ama 200. Kwa hivyo ningeomba sana serikali kama ingejua kuna watu wengi wako na sukari na ingetusaidia na madawa, angalau tungekuwa tunasaidika kidogo tukingangana na chakula.
Haya, na pia lishe, umesema chakula. Kuna government ilisema ina pesa imeweka kando kuwasaidia kuwa na lishe. Ungetakaje?
Ningeomba wajue vile wanaweza tupata, watusaidie, sababu tulitangaziwa kitambo chakula serikali inapeana kibura, na tujawahi ona hiyo usaidizi. Watu wamengoja, tukapewa makaratasi, tukaandika majina za watu, tukapeana. Sasa wao watu hawajawahi pata hiyo chakula. Sasa sisi kibura tunasikianga tu kuna misaada, lakini hatujawahi ona hiyo misaada ya serikali, lakini tunasikianga iko. Sababu kuna pahali walionyeshana siku ile rais alisema, alikuwa amesema atasaidia walemavu wajiwezi, lakini hiyo msaada hatujaona.
Aya, asante sana Patricia Katunga kutoka pale Kibra. She is hypertensive diabetic and has actually even suffered a stroke, but she is a community health worker and sensitizes others living with these conditions to adhere to their medication and go to hospital. We are also joined by Evans Nyambega, who is hypertensive, has also suffered a heart attack and a stroke. Evans, you talked about the importance of having the medication, but also the nutrition. Kama hauna chakula jameni utakunywaje dawa?
Thank you. In fact, that is the bottom line. Manake, we have all the time arranged about all these things, medication, food. We have mainly talked about it, but now I think it is important that we now go to mashinani, because mashinani is where these people are. So we now don't talk from ivory towers. We go to mashinani and meet these people, give them food, give them medication, give them social protection, so that really they can now say we are now getting help. And indeed, there is this aspect of COVID-19. This is not a special thing that we need to worry about. We have been told what to do is achievable, is doable. We can wash our hands, we can keep the distance, we can do a lot of things. So let us do them according to health provisions, then we shall not have a problem. Now, the biggest problem is that, okay, the government said that this war, sio yao peke yao, ni yetu sisi wote. Sasa, kama ni yetu sisi wote, kwa nini tena mimi nasikia ati watu wengine wanaenda kupeana chakula, wanakatazwa, wanafanya nini? Let us work together so that we can defeat this thing. Otherwise, without which, we cannot. Now, people living with non-communicable diseases, popularly known as NCDs, these are special people in the midst of others. Take care of each one, so that all of us can be winners. Now, we have conditions like epilepsy, which is a non-communicable disease. We kindly let us leave the myths of saying that ukisaidia ya mtu ambaye ameanguka na epilepsy ati itakurudia, airudi.
Very well
In
said,
fact,
Evans.
epilepsy is a non-communicable disease. And in a nutshell, kindly let us work together to make a great contribution.
Thank you, Evans Nyambega. Thank you. Those are powerful words, and words that need to be adhered to help those living with non-communicable diseases, and as we're calling them, lifestyle diseases, also in today's conversation. Now, to Gachanja, you lost weight, changed your diet, you are a hiker, but we are living at a time where containment and quarantine is our reality. How has life changed for you?
Well, it has been quite a big struggle for me because I do much of my work is out there. So it has been quite a struggle to be constrained in a very small space within the city. But there's still much we can do even when we are constrained, because a few of the green spaces that we have in Nairobi, and they are so key to this. They are so key to this. We have the Karura, we have the Arboretum, we have Orolua, we have Gong Hills, and at least those few green spaces that have been our only remaining places that where we can do our walking, we can do our hiking, and we can at least have some physical activity. But also within the confines of the home, you can still do a few workouts. You can do a 30-minute workout, a 20-minute, even 10 minutes. It's good. Or even walking within your estate or within your compound should be very okay. And there's something we can do. We cannot say that because of this, we should not be able to be exercising. We should not be able to stay active. So I would say even with this situation, we are doing the best we can, or the best I can, to stay out there and do something about staying active physically.
Very well said. Now, Dr. Njau, clearly something that's coming up is that the trajectory of lifestyle diseases during COVID-19, because of the parameters around it, can actually make it worse, or can make the trajectory worse. What is your words of advice?
So like you are saying, of course, with the confinement, we are limited, like Ketoga is saying, you're not able to exercise, you have sedentary, you have locked up in the house. So of course, those are the other things that happen. Access to drugs is also a major problem. You actually find that will bring a problem. Access to food may be a problem to other people. So at the end of the day, what we actually need to do is we need to look at an individual levels. What are the things that we can do as an individual? What are the things that we need to do as an individual? What are the things that we do as a family? In the families that we live, do we have those people who have the non-communicable diseases? How do we support them? And I've said, we have seen even a lot of stigma that has actually come about with COVID.
Yes.
That even if I suspect the guys that you have it, we all shun away from you. And that's what we need to do. Let's be kind to one, even the people who are affected or who are victims of COVID. Let's be kind to them. Let's support them. Let's give them the help that they need. At a community level, what are the things that we need to do as a community so that we can win this war? This war is not for individuals, it's as a community. And like Mr. Evans said, we actually have to adhere to all the things that we have been told to do. We all share has social distancing, physical distancing, put on your mask when you're out there in the public so that you can protect yourself and also you can protect the others. Those are things that we all need to do. Then also in the national level, our government has to come and actually bring out all those programs, all those policies that are actually going to help the common person to actually be able to function in the situation that we are. We are in this together, and we can only win if we actually stick together, work together, and do everything together.
All right. Now, Dr. Mogere, lifestyle diseases, when we are staying at home, not exercising, eating everything and anything, your words of advice in averting these conditions?
Thank you, Gladys. Yeah, as Dr. Njau alluded to, right now, of course, the pandemic has caused, a few changes, if not many. Our level of inactivity is high, but I would like to say that at this point in time, it's important not to be complacent because it is possible for us also to be active even within our own confines. For example, we can do simple exercises like push-ups, aerobic exercises in the house, even just walking. You just need to do, for example, if you're diabetic, if you did 30 steps, that is good enough an exercise over a day. So I think at this point, all we need to do in this period is also to adjust. I think at the moment we have no excuse. Let's not have this habit of getting into the kitchen to nibble on anything that is available. One has to develop discipline. And this is both for the adults and even for the children. Because obesity is actually real. People forget that at this point of inactivity and access to calories in the fridges, somebody is doing work at home, is on their laptop, and they're easily taking juices that have a lot of sugar and easily going to the fridge to get mahamri or mandazi or a couple of things. You find all these things here will eventually result in increased calorie intake, but then you don't burn it out, and as a result of that, you end up increasing the risk of obesity. And of course, it spirals into all these cardiovascular problems that we're talking about. So for this period, let's make sure that we do what we're supposed to do. But even more importantly, for those who already have lifestyle diseases, please visit your doctors and ensure that you have your regular checkups.
Thank you, gentlemen. And at this point, I will take more of your feedback, even as we asked you if you are living with any of these lifestyle diseases. We've been talking about hypertension, diabetes, or heart disease, and how you are coping during this COVID-19 season. And a look at some of them. Albert, who says, I'm an ambassador in her own country, rare species. This should be in relation to the young princess in Baringo who is learning her culture during this COVID-19 season when she's at home. Warorondegwa says, very true. Teaching our children to respect their culture and to even speak in mother tongue, that is also in relation to that story. We have another from Joka Elias, beautiful soul there, of course, in relation to our beautiful Joy Jebiwot in Baringo County. And Prince, credit deserved. I think they're also referring to Jebi Ward, even as she learns her cultural traditions during this COVID-19 season. Now, Moon Awidi says, 10 years ago, I was at borderline diabetic, but changed my lifestyle, and now my sugar level is normal through consistency, exercise, and changing diet. Congratulations to you, something that can be emulated by others. Another here from Juma Jona who says, just thinking on how one will learn to live with a flu-like infection. I'm tempted to think that one must think on which oxygen to breathe and which one not to breathe. Well, we are still figuring out, but as long as you adhere to the measures put in place, you shall be fine. Diana Dina Onyango who says, nice, that is my Dr. Njao. Well, Daktari, a patient is watching today. Another one here from Arab Yagan Kichwan who says, diabetes is a manageable condition. Do not fear it. Very well said. And Michael Kingori who says, God is in control. Yes, he is, always will be, but even you need to be wise enough to take charge of your own health and wellness. Now, across the borders, Albanian beekeepers are expecting a golden year for the honey harvest as bees ramp up activity amid the quiet of the coronavirus pandemic. The Balkan country was quick to close down public and industrial life at the start of March to curb the spread of COVID-19, which has claimed some 30 lives so far. At the Morava farm, the only one in Albania to export honey, beekeepers say the insects have been thriving as pollution, noise, and pesticides are curbed by the shutdown. Clearly a silver lining there to this COVID-19 season. Now, a yellow robot dog called Sport, which found fame online for dancing to hit song Uptown Funk, has been deployed to patrol a Singapore park and ensure people observe social distancing. The high-tech hound is remote controlled and can clamber easily over all types of terrain, which its creators say means it can go where wheeled robots cannot.
There are many signs everywhere, and I mean, we are reminded every day to do it, and we're reminded more so by, you know, public shaming, how people with cameras everywhere. I think we are more scared of that than that would be more effective than a robot dog telling us to social distance or to wear a mask.
I think it's pretty cool. It gives a sense that, you know, someone is just looking around just to make sure that the people around are safe. Yeah. I think it's really going to be chilling in a way, you know, it's something is looking around, and I'm not sure how it's going to react to, you know, I'm not sure how it's going to react to me rather when it's going to go near it. Yeah.
Invention during the season of COVID-19. Now back in the continent, the Senegalese seaside resort of Sali is empty. The disappearance of tourists caused by travel restrictions is an economic disaster, according to a hotel director of the resort. Senegal suspended all international flights till since March 20th, with the government extending the state of emergency and dusk to dawn curfew declared on March 24th to June 2nd. The hospitality industry in the West African nation has been hard hit, with operators saying the pandemic is or may cause an economic disaster. The country, which has recorded over 2,900 infections and 33 deaths due to COVID-19, announced last Tuesday a 5.5 million euros plan to support the sector. These comes even as President Macky Sall announced the easing of some of the COVID-19 restrictions, but said the government is preparing for the virus to circulate in the country until August or even September. Elsewhere, prisoners in Morocco are doing their bit in the country's fight against the spread of coronavirus by making thousands of face masks for fellow inmates. An inmate at Casablanca's Ain Sebaa prison, the kingdom's most crowded jail, with some 8,000 inmates finish off the masks while others cut the fabric or pack the protective items into plastic bags for distribution to some 80,000 prisoners across the country. The North African kingdom has officially declared 7,300 coronavirus infections, including 197 deaths. It has extended its lockdown until June 10th, and anyone going outdoors requires authorization and must wear a mask. Police checks are frequent, and those caught risk up to 3 months in prison and a fine of up to 13,000 shillings for violating the rules. Well, it has been your world. I have been joined by Dr. Alex Mogere, who is a physician at the AR Healthcare, Dr. Elijah Njau, cardiologist at Nairobi Hospital, Patricia Katunga, patient in Kibra, who was speaking to us earlier, Evans Nyabega, who is hypertensive, lives in Nairobi. Lucy John Bosco also joined us earlier, all the way from Tanzania. She's living with type 1 diabetes. And of course, Wandae Gitonga, who has joined us in this hour. And just a reminder that Wandae Gitonga wants to be the first Kenyan to scale Mount Everest. And this came from his decision to change his health and to take charge of his wellness. And we shall be bringing to you that documentary of his very inspiring life on 31st of May, which is this coming Sunday, even as he scales Mount Everest very soon. Now, before I bid you goodbye, ladies, vuteni stool tafadhali. Tomorrow, we shed light on how the coronavirus pandemic has disrupted your lives. It will be your time to share what you miss about normalcy, time with the girls, a trip to the salon to do your chipped nails, your overgrown brows. And we'll explore if this season we should certify mothers as essential services. See you then.